Okay, in this session, we're going to take a look at Google Forms. There's a couple different ways you can open a Google Form. The easiest way is to go to your Drive, go up to the New button, go to More, and click on Google Form. Here we have the arrow to the right. We can also select just a blank form or a form from a template. So perhaps there might be a template you want to use of a pre-made Google Form. I'm going to show you one other way. I'm going to open another tab. The landing page for Google Forms is forms.google.com. And if you're on a Chromebook and you click on the button in the bottom left that has your Google Forms button, it'll take you to this page. And so this is just another way you can start a blank page, start a blank form, or you can open a new form over here. Okay, so I'm going to press blank right here. We're going to look at just naming and giving a title to our form to start here. So there is a take a tour button. You can press that and take a tour. They'll talk to you all about it, but that's what I'm going to do in this video. So I'm going to press no thanks. In the top left, we can name our form. So this is practice with Google Forms. Of course, you might want to name it something relevant to the assignment or the assessment that you're trying to give. If I click off to the side here in the purple, it automatically takes that name and puts it in for the title of my form. And then I can give it a description if I wanted to as well. This is a form used for the tutorial video on Google Forms. Of course, if you're giving it for an assessment, you might want to talk something about this is Google Forms, and this is a assessment for quiz for week 3, or however you organize your content. The purpose of Google Forms is you can ask questions, you can give surveys, all sorts of different uses here. We're going to start adding some questions now here. On the right side, we see a little floating toolbar. Here's how we add a question. Here's how we can add some supporting text or a title. We can add an image. We can add a video. And then this last one is a section. And so that'll be a different page within this Google form. We have a question here already. It's called Untitled Question. Let's retitle it here. What is your favorite month? Okay, when I do that, Google automatically can read my question and it's going to give me some suggestions. I can automatically click right here. It's going to automatically add January, February, March, April, May, June, July. And so I don't have to type these answers in. Google already knows that I'm looking for a month type answer. I'm going to add another question now. Here's that floating toolbar. As I scroll up with it, you see that floating toolbar moves with us a little bit. I press the plus button right here to add a question. I get another question added. That floating toolbar moves to the next question. And here I can add another question. So what does the fox say? And again, Google is reading it. It's giving me all of these funny answers, cha 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 chow, for what the fox says. Now let's say I don't want to use those answers. I want them to just enter a free response. If I click right here, I get the different types of question types. And so Google has all sorts of different question types. Short answer, they can enter a text, maybe, they'll see about 10 characters of that text. They can enter longer, more than 10 characters, but they're only going to see about 10 characters when they enter their answer. So that's good for maybe vocabulary, stuff like that. Paragraph text, they're going to be able to see their entire paragraph that they type. So this is good for short response or extended response questions. Multiple choice, of course, we know what that is. Checkbox is similar to multiple choice, except for we can do multiple correct with checkboxes. Dropdown is very similar to multiple choice, except for the way that students are going to be presented with the question is they're going to click a little box and they'll choose the answer from the little drop-down menu. File upload can be helpful if you're trying to collect a file from a student. So for example, we use this for our 3D prints. So we have a Google form sent out to students. When they want to submit a print, they'll get to one of the questions that says file upload, and they'll take the file, their 3D print file, and upload it into this form for us, and then we can get that printed for them later. Linear scale is like a 1 to 4. What do you think? 1 to 4, 1 to 5 type question. Multiple choice grid. Let me fill one out so you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to put row 1, row 2, and we'll put row 3, and we'll put column 1, column 2, column 3. If you go up to the top right here, there's a little eyeball. You can preview some of these questions. We'll just preview what this looks like. So here's our favorite month. Here's what the fox says. And now we see it's this multiple choice or this grid choice box. And so column 1, row 1, okay, if it matches up there, maybe column 2 is matched up with row 3, maybe column 3 with row 4. And of course, you would have content or information in these drop downs yourself. Press the submit button and it submits to it. I'm going to X this one out and go back to the editing page though. Let me show you the other question type. It's a checkbox grid, similar to the one we just saw. Let me press the view button though. We'll see that it looks just visually a little different. Now I can select multiple in a given column or multiple in a given row. So that's the difference between those two tools there. So those are the question types. You can also ask a question for the date or for the time, and students will be presented with a little drop-down menu to choose the correct date or to choose the appropriate time. So maybe you're trying to set up appointments or something like that. You might want to choose date and time. So let's make this one something real, like sort the following items. Okay, we might call these ones 2D shapes. This one might be 3D shapes. And this one might be, oh, I don't know, let's just do 2D and 3D shapes for right now. In the columns, we might have something like a square. We'll have a cube, a rectangle, and a sphere. And if we go to view this, we'll see how students would be able to maybe answer a question like this. So which ones are 2D shapes? Well, a square and a rectangle are 2D shapes, and 3D shapes is a cube and a sphere. Okay, so that's how you might use that feature there. Up at the very top, if I'm on the editing page here, if I scroll to the very top, or I'm sorry, I'm not on the editing page, I'm on the form page. I'm actually taking this form. If I scroll to the top, I have edit access to this, so I get a little pencil. If I click on that, it'll ask me to leave, and it'll take me back to my practice with Google Forms. I have it open in another tab, so I'm just going to close this one down. Okay, we're going to look at just one other feature here. So this is pretty neat. We've added some different types of questions, but we can add additional features here, like title text or some more descriptions to help students along. So in the bottom right, there's a little button, 3 little dots here. If you click on it once, you get a description. We can add a description here. Some of these shapes are 2-dimensional. Some are 3-dimensional. So perhaps just some extra helper text for a student there. I can even add a picture here. So maybe I'll add a picture here. Press that button. I can go and search Google for shapes. And so maybe to start this question, we have just a little fun set of shapes that we just display next to it, just to help visually for students. Okay, that could be a little confusing, I think, as students might be thinking some of these are squares or shapes. But if you could find actual squares, cubes, rectangles, and spheres, you can insert them into here for that question. I'm going to go press the plus button here. I'm going to add another question. Let's say, what is the Oregon Trail? So Oregon wrong, got to capitalize it there. I can add another picture here if I want to. Click right there. I'm going to search again for Oregon Trail. Okay, and I'm just going to maybe have a little fun Conestoga wagon for this question. Now I'm going to do something different here. So that's the main question. In the bottom right, I can click on these 3 dots, add a description. Okay, so this is a picture of someone on the Oregon Trail. And maybe for my questions, I might want to say map 1. I'm going to provide them with different maps to choose from this time. Instead of verbal responses or written responses, I'm going to look for picture responses. So map 3. And then for each question, I can add a different type of image. So here I can click on add image. I'm going to search here. I'm going to search for Oregon Trail on this one again. So this might be the correct answer. So here's an actual map that shows the Oregon Trail. That'll be the correct answer. For map 2, We'll put another image in here. Okay, we'll maybe search for the Colorado Trail. Okay, here's kind of another little trail map, it looks like. Okay, and then maybe for the third one, we might put in something like the Appalachian Trail. And let's see here. So here's kind of a map that shows that. Press select. Now I've added 3 different questions. Let's press this eyeball up here to see what it looks like. Scroll down here. Okay, so here's what is the Oregon Trail. Here's just a general picture. And then now they can choose the correct answer based on the pictures. Okay, I'm going to close this one out, go back to my editing page here. Now that we have a few questions in here, Google has a built-in feature that makes sure that students have to answer every single question, and that's this required button right down here. If you click on it once, it turns it on, makes that question required. I'm going to go up here to the checkbox 1, click on that question here, go down to the bottom right of that question. Because this is a checkbox grid one, it's requiring a response for each row. That's the default required option. And then finally, our first question here, click on it once. In the bottom right, there's a button to make that required. If students go to submit the form at the very end, they will be prompted. Let me go and press the view button here. Let's say we answer that one. We answer that one. We're not going to put a question in there. You see it gets a little error message saying you have to put in at least one response for each row. And here, I'm not going to answer that one. If I press submit, you see it won't let me submit the question. It'll show me that this is a required question. So I'll have to press a button there before I press submit. I'm going to press the preview button up here. If we take a look at our form, all of the questions are on one page. So it goes from one question to the next question to the next question, and then we finally submit. If I have 30 questions on here, that's going to be a very long page that I'm scrolling down through, and it's going to be a little bit difficult to determine where one question ends and where the next question starts. So I'd suggest we use this other option called sections. And so I'm going to go back to my form here. I'm going to scroll down to the very last question, choose it once, and on the right side, instead of adding a question, I'm going to add a section. So I'm going to call this one section 2. I'm going to create another section here, add a section, section 3, and just for fun, we'll create another section, section 4. And so what these sections are actually different pages on our Google form. So this would be page 2. This one would be page 3. And this one down here would be page 4. So let's take a look here. Or let's add a question to each of these here. Section 2, let's add a question. What is 5 plus 5? And we'll put in some options, 10, 1, 0. Section 3, we'll put in a question. What is a verb? Or which is a verb? And we'll say jump, shoe, and phony. We'll make this one required. Let's go back up here and make sure this one was required as well. In section 4, we'll put one final question, add a question. Does this make sense? Here, Google can read it. Give me the option of yes, no, or maybe. I'll throw those in really quick. Make this one required. Go up to the preview button here. We'll take a look at what this section does for us. Okay, so here's my first couple questions, just like before. Question 1, question 2, we got to answer. Question 3, we got to answer. Now, instead of saying submit, it says next. It'll take us to the next page. Here's section 2. This is page 2. Here's that second question. Press next. Here's page 3. Okay, so what these sections are doing for us is it's making multiple pages in our Google form, perhaps separating content or perhaps separating different types of questions that you're asking. Okay, and finally, number 4, does this make sense? And here now it doesn't say next, it says submit because we're at the end of the form and you have now submitted the form. So that's what sections will do for you. It'll create different pages within your Google form. We can use this idea of sections for some pretty powerful instruction, in fact. So I'm going to go to section 2 here. So they answer the first 3 questions. They go to section 2, they answer this math question. And now I'm going to select this question. In the bottom right, there are 3 dots. I'm going to select those 3 dots, and I'm going to choose the option, go to section based on answer. Before I continue here, I'm going to go down to section 3. I'm going to rename this one correct answer. And I'm going to rename section 4 incorrect answer. And we'll see why here in just a second. I'm going to go back up to that first question. What is 5 plus 5? Select it once. Oh, come on. There it goes. In the bottom right again, I chose let's go to section based on answer. Here's a couple other options I get now. So if they answer 10, which is correct, I'm going to have them go to the correct answer section. If they answer 1, which is incorrect, I'm going to have them go to the incorrect answer section or incorrect answer page, and 0 incorrect as well. I'm going to have them go to the incorrect answer page. Now in section 3, which was the correct answer, let me change this. Let's make this one math related. I'm going to delete this question, add a new one. And so they got that first one on math, and so I might give them a more complicated math problem. So what is 5 times 5? Make this one required, put in some correct answers, and here I could go all day and create some choose your own adventure type forms. And so if they get it incorrect, here's the incorrect section. Let me delete this question. I'm going to add a video maybe. And I'm going to just search YouTube really quick for adding numbers because they had difficulty adding 5 plus 5. And I've vetted this video, hopefully. Press select. And so now they will get to a page that is talking about adding numbers, a little tutorial page for them. So take a look at what we've done here. So for this question here, what is 5 plus 5? We turned on the option to go to section based on answer. From there, we chose the correct answer to go to section 2, or section 3, which is the correct answer. If they get it incorrect, we're going to have them go to section 4, which is the incorrect answer. In section 3, we might continue with the practice, more difficult questions. In section 4, we might take them to some tutorial videos. Let's go to the preview button up here. Let's take a look at what we've done. Here's those first 3 questions they have to answer on that first page. Nothing's happening here yet. Press next, we go to page 2. If I get it incorrect and I press next, oh, here it takes me to this video. And as a student, I can play this video and make sure I know how to answer this question. Okay, let me go back here and go to this incorrect answer. So maybe after they watch this video, we might want to add another question for them to practice. What is 6 plus 6? And here we'll give them a couple different answers. And then we could do this all day. We'll make this one required also. We'll go to section based on answer. Okay, we don't have other sections created yet, but we could do that really quick. Add a section. Correct 2. Okay, because this is the second question that is going to be correct. So you got to kind of stay organized here. Incorrect 2. And so now I can go up here, 4 to 6 plus 6. If they get it correct, I can direct them to the correct answer section for the second question. And if they get it incorrect, I can direct them to the incorrect answer section for the second question. So we've made our form. Now let's make it pretty. I'm going to go to the top here. At the very top, there are some other options. The first one here are add-ons. We're going to talk about those in a future Google Form session. The next one here is the color palette. If you choose it once, the default option is purple, but you can make your background orange if you'd like, or you can also insert your own image. You can upload something from your own photo album if you'd like, or you can choose something from their options here. Press select and it'll add it to the banner. Have a little fun with your Google Form there. The next option here is this little cog button. It's the setting button that we see all around Google. Click on it once. We have some different options we can turn on for our form here. Okay, so do we want to collect the email address? Yes, most likely when we're having students take this. However, we can just choose this option down here. Restrict to Garfield 16 users, or just limit to 1 response. If we choose limit to 1 response, Students are going to have to be signed into their Google account. It'll automatically collect their email address. They won't have to enter it, so there's no mistake that they can accidentally put in their email address incorrectly. And we will know who took that form, or at least which computer it took from, which student's account it came from. And a couple other options. Can students submit, edit after they submit? So perhaps if they took this for homework, the next day they come back to class, you want them to edit their answers. You might want them to edit after submit. If you want students to see how other students responded to a certain question, you can turn on see summary charts and text responses. Then everyone would be able to see everyone else's response and see how people are thinking on specific questions. Other options here in presentation, we can show the progress bar. That'll show us how much we've completed of this form. So we had like 4 different pages on our form. It'll show us that we're 25% complete on the first page, 50% complete on the second page, etc. We can shuffle the questions around. That way students, if they're looking on other people's computers, won't likely see the same question in the same order. And a confirmation message at the end. You can have fun with this. You did great. Check your email for your responses. Okay, because it's back here in general. If we turn on collect email address, response receipts, they can always get a response receipt showing how they answered specific questions if you turn that one on. Okay, I'm going to go to presentation here. And then the final option here is quizzes. We're going to take a look at that here in just a second. Let me press save though. One thing I didn't talk about yet that I highly suggest is your first 2 questions always be, what is your first name and what is your last name? And the reason I suggest this is because when you go to look at the summary of responses, you're going to have a whole bunch of different responses by email address. But if you ask first name and last name, now we can sort by last name. Now it's going to be a lot easier to put into my grade book because they're sorted by last name. So go to section based on answers, great for directing students to get correct answers or direct them around the Google form. But if you're just given a straight up quiz, Google form has a quiz mode enabled. So up here in the top right, I'm going to go to the cog, settings, and the last option here is quizzes. We're going to choose the option to make this a quiz. A couple options you get here. Do we want to release it right after they submit it? So are they going to get their grade right away, or are they going to get it later after you take a look at some of the answers? Now it can only auto grade multiple choice checkbox type answers. It can't auto grade free response. Later after manual review might be a good option if you're having a lot of text response type questions. And what can respondents see when they get the response receipts? The correct answers, missed questions, point values, etc. You can toggle these on and off at your will. We're going to press save here. We're going to go look at the form now. So we turned quiz mode on using the setting button up here, but now we got to go to each question and we got to make it worth a certain point value. So I'm going to choose this one right here. What is your favorite month? Now, of course, this wouldn't be this is an opinion question, but we're going to make it a point value. When I choose the question now, in the bottom left corner, I have an answer key option. Select it once. I can now choose the correct answer. Of course, January is the best month. I can give it a certain point value. This is worth 5 points maybe, and maybe add some answer feedback. So if they get it incorrect, we can say no, January is better because there is snow. And we could even add a little link here showing maybe to a video or to another web page that has more information about this incorrect answer. Correct answers, if they get it correct, we can say, yay, you are right. If you want to, and again, you could add a link here to maybe maybe some more in-depth information about January or about that specific question. Press save here. This question is now worth 5 points. The correct answer is January. And here's some answer feedback if they get it correct. Here's some answer feedback if they get it incorrect. Okay, we'll do the same thing with this next question here. Select it once. We see here though, this is a checkbox grid question. It does not give us the option to auto grade this one. So it does not auto grade this type of question. We'll go to the Oregon Trail answer key in the bottom left here, turn it on. We'll choose the correct answer. This is the correct answer. We'll make it worth maybe 3 points and maybe add some answer feedback if we wanted to. Okay, we'll go to the next question. Answer key, make it worth a couple points, choose the correct answer, go to the next question. Answer key, choose the correct answer, make it worth a couple points. Now let's say you made a mistake. You can go back here to edit question. Okay, and you can maybe add another option if you wanted to, or edit the question itself. And then you can go back to answer key, and now we're in the quiz mode, looking at answer feedback, correct answer, point value, etc. Okay, so you'd have to do that for all of your questions here. Turn on the answer key, choose the correct answer, give answer feedback if you want to, assign a point value. Okay, so that's how you would make this into a quiz, an auto-graded quiz. Form created. Now we got to talk about some of the most important things here. I'm going to go up here to the top right in the 3 little dots here. I'm going to choose the option to add a collaborator. So if I want somebody else to get on this form with me and add questions, some of my colleagues maybe in my department, I might add some collaborators here. Click on it once. It'll open up the little picker here, just like in Google Docs and all the other sharing services. Type in somebody's name, choose them, choose the level of access you want to give them. Now, because this is a form, their only option is to edit it. If we give them view access, that would be the same as giving them the form itself. And we're going to take a look at how we send it to people here in just a second. Okay, press send here. Now Scott Carpenter would be a collaborator on this form with me here. The other option here is to send it to people. So if you press the send button, this is how we're going to have people take our form. We can send it to specific email addresses if we wanted to. Put them in individually one by one there if we wanted to. Or the next option here is to choose a link. We can copy this link, put it into an email and send it to people through email. Or we could create a short URL and have people enter that short URL. And then the last option here, if you're an advanced user, this is to embed it into a website if you were to wanted to embed that. So this is how we're going to share this to other people, either send it to their email or copy this link and share this link with them. Okay, so when you finish your form, I highly suggest that you always take it once before you give it and share it out with people. So we're going to go to the preview button here. First question is email address. Okay. Now, my first questions I thought were first name, last name, but the reason why they're all shuffled around is because we chose the option to shuffle question order, so they're going to be all over the place here, but they're still going to be on the same pages. So I'm just going to choose some answers here to go through. Here's my last name, first name question. Okay, choose next. So all of the questions will be shuffled on a specific page. They're not going to shuffle them between different pages though. So here's that one. If I get this one correct, it should take me to the correct answer page. Here it is. Perfect. Seems to be working. Okay. Oh, well, it's bumping me around here because I didn't quite set it up properly. So I'll have to go take a look there. Again, looks like I didn't quite properly set up some of my redundancy here. Okay, press submit though. All right, so I finally submitted my form. I have some responses. Let's take a look at those responses. Right now we're in question mode. To the right here, if we choose responses, we can take a look at the responses. They've updated this recently. They have all sorts of new insights, point distribution by total points of the quiz, frequently missed questions, but then for each individual question, they have a response receipt for each question. So here's percentage in March, people who chose May, August, July. Okay, here's how people responded to that question. Here's the percentage of people responding to the different maps in the Oregon Trail question. So Google Forms is automatically creating some great data analysis for us to take a look at. I'm going to scroll to the top here though. Another way you might want to take a look at this, so we're in summary right now. We might want to look at it on an individual question basis. So this is question 1, okay, question 2, question 3. Here's question 5, the Oregon Trail one. Okay, so 3 people have chosen I'm sorry, one person chose map 1, 2 people chose map 2, 1 person chose map 3 here. Okay. The other option though is this button right here. I can create a spreadsheet of these responses, choose it once, create a new spreadsheet, press create. It'll take all of this information from this form and put it into a really neat, friendly to use, oops, I got to allow a pop-up here, friendly to use spreadsheet for us. So here it is. Here's all the questions, email address. Here's their total score. Here's the question of their first name. Here's the question of their last name. Okay, what is your favorite month, etc. Here's all of the questions in a nice, easy to read spreadsheet format for me. So there's 2 different ways to look at our responses, in a spreadsheet here or in Google Forms itself. If I go back to summary, it does give me some great graphical information for these different questions.